because I do want to make a video of what I expect to be in GTA Online for GTA 6. I do have a video for that. I'm hoping they're not going to let GTA Online somehow be brought in with GTA 6 like they did with GTA 5. Instead of you having to pay for them, you get them for free because you have these weapons in the previous installment. I can see them doing that, but then again, that puts a lot of players in a better position and most players in the not so good position.
Man, they don't give a damn about shit like that.
And
You
all the
can't,
servers.
any idea that you gonna have, you can't take greed out of the equation, okay? The enjoyment factor of these games is one of the things that's always gonna be put on the back burner to some degree, okay, for the sake of making their money. So always keep that in mind. Things that could sound fun is going to be done in some level of means of greed. All right, so it's going to diminish in quality regardless.
The next big thing I want to talk about is housing. Not like there's anything wrong with the houses that we were able to buy and get into, but there are certain houses that I would wish were like up for purchase. Instead of me having to have like a 10-car garage, which was nice, 3 different apartments that were customizable, which was also nice. To have a piece of land that was very unique, things that were like captivating, like having a nice large pool or having a nice long driveway. It helped the property stand out and what made you purchase it. What if you were able to buy like Michael's house or maybe even Franklin's house? Because GTA Online started before the story of Grand Theft Auto 5 takes place, and it continued on after that summer of 2013. Would Michael even still be living in that house, or did they go somewhere else? Was the property even up for, grabs at a certain point? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that actually wanted to buy that property. There's probably, 60 other percent of people probably wouldn't mind having that property because it was a nice bit of land. It really was. There were some houses that were very unique. Depending on the location, like say if you were in up in the hills, I'd say a reasonable price would probably be like 1.5 million because it's not really a cheap house. It's a nice big mansion, and there's a lot that comes with it. You're able to do other things like maybe do yoga. They probably might not go that far, but they did in certain properties, but those were all business related.
What I'm gathering from that is basically, I guess that'd make buying a more expensive option more viable if they came with basically extra mini games with them. Again, pool, doing something in a pool. Like you have pool table shit, and then you have like swimming pools. Just to clarify, maybe some other amenities like again having like the game, game things. I don't know if if they want to make even more games in them, or even have the darts in them. You probably have to pay for these extra amenities too. That would basically make that property value unfortunately have to go up some, and probably also the mortgage things that you'd have to pay on it periodically as you play the game as well. Those are the things that would probably make that shit worth it. Otherwise, I feel like it probably would be a waste of resources because in most cases you'd be out and about doing other things anyways. You'd be out there doing the jobs. Probably as they make businesses and stuff too, they do it in the same GTA 5 formula. I mean, you'll probably end up at one of your other assets and basically just staying near because they're just for like convenience sake. Like I'm already at my business. I don't have to drive over that way. I don't have to spawn a helicopter and take it over there. I can just spawn there and then do what I need to do, whether it be grinding or whatever the case may be. That would kind of take away from it. It's cool having the houses. The houses just kind of get undervalued as a result of you being able to live at your assets and be able to constantly respawn there. You know what I mean? It takes away from that. Unless I can do those things from my Rockford Hills mansion or somewhere else, like I'm in this comfortable setting, it's limited from a gameplay standpoint, and like it just not being tedious. From just a casual thing where I'm just like, you know what? I feel like spawning at my mansion and like kind of just like living out my dream of being a millionaire, living in this big home, see the interiors and actually like I don't know, decorate the shit or some shit, and then play pool in my area, maybe invite my friends over, want to kind of like do some kind of role playing type of thing. Then I guess sure, but that's probably the extensiveness of it. Now I know we all know that they did the whole heist thing. Depending what house you get a boardroom where you can look at all these different things. other than that, severely limited. Other than just simply storing your cars in another area, a higher end garage with like it's a higher end garage, even though it's a lower end garage because you probably only can hold a certain amount of cars in it. Whereas you can get a garage that can hold 10 or so, and then get a house that is like probably big but only holds like 4 cars in it.
I mean, like more realistically, instead of it being like a 10 car, instead of it, you just want to say like, what if it just holds 2 cars? Should it just be able to hold 2 cars, or like, what if you have multiple garages? More realistically saying, instead of it going to a Corona to where you come up to your garage and like you have a high-end apartment, 10-car garage, and by city, which is a pretty, like I said, it's a pretty big map from what I've seen. Would you say it'd be better to have 2 or 4?
2 or 4 for like a regular house. If depending where the house is, it'd probably make more sense if you can have a larger garage, maybe a 6 or 8. Because you also have to keep in mind that they did make smaller garages. Probably should be a reason for those to exist, right? And the main purpose of those is mainly just to hold your cars in different areas of the map. That's the only purpose that they serve in GTA 5. You can't do anything else there. So the extra reason why the regular houses would cost more is because you can do more in those areas where it's still holding your cars at. So unless they're gonna let you do more at those garages, they don't really serve a purpose. So in order to increase the value of them, if you're not gonna give the player more to do at those garages, just simply decrease the number of cars you can have at the houses and then increase the number you can have at those individual garages, because then there's a reason for that. And even then, the more cars you have, the less value some of those cars have to you, because you're only going to drive only a select few of them anyways. So they're going to diminish in value to you as time goes on, and with them adding more cars anyway. So at this point now you're just getting rid of cars, shipping out old cars, putting in new ones, and then as you buy more properties in different areas, your old properties are going to get sold as well. So it's just, there's a term for that, like a property term for that. I just don't know it. But that's pretty much how the whole cycle of GTA would work as far as that shit is concerned, at least in my mind.
Because when I look at that, I kind of did get tired of having to spawn in to a apartment and there's somebody that's already in the exact same apartment. I just want to be the only one staying there, because the last thing you want to do is come outside and get gunned down on your own property.
I don't know if you can avoid that, especially with the popularity of some YouTubers playing online and everything else too. Some people kind of live at certain houses for their own reasons. Some people really live at certain houses because YouTubers and other content creators chose those houses themselves. So like, you may think that you picking a house that's like, oh, ain't nobody has got this, and you might just happen to pop in a lobby where someone has that, but it's not because they like living out there. They're probably barely there. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, I know that I like to stream snipe. I'm speaking in terms, and like, if I was one of them, I like to stream snipe, and I know that this particular YouTuber or Twitch streamer has a property all the way out here. So when they get on the game, all I got to do is they happen to do a mission in this area. All I got to do is basically just die, or make sure I switch my spawn location here, and then possibly get a friend in their lobby. It's some of the most dumbest shit ever. It is like the no life type shit is still so fucking stupid. Mind you, I'm only theorizing this. I don't even know how convoluted it gets. Okay, like truly, I really don't. But people literally just will use these areas as mainly just POIs, which is point of interest. So that way they can just kind of get around the map a lot faster than what a simple vehicle or a helicopter can get them to. It's not really so much about the actual property and them wanting to be there anyways. You can't avoid a lot of people being in your living in the same apartment building. It's like the Eclipse Tower that I have. Like, I chose that area mainly. I only got the idea to choose that area, which was my first high-end apartment apparently, because I saw it in one of their videos. I was like, that does look like a decent place to. But what I didn't know, I didn't know that it had different apartments when you try to buy the place. I was like, oh shit. I mean, granted, some of them might look different. I don't know if they do in that particular building, but I was just like, that looks like a decent place to be at. And surely enough, it's one of the more common areas that people fucking live at. And probably because a lot of other people, like, thought the same. Every time I leave that bitch, I might have somebody flying around. I might have somebody just sitting in their car and looking like they're planning, waiting for me to come out. And I was like, bro, I just got in this lobby. and I'm already dying. You know what I mean? Like if I get caught slipping or some shit. So it's just unavoidable for the most part. Now I would say as far as GTA 5 is concerned, you could easily pick one of these buildings that are out here in the desert. Probably 90% of the time, you're not going to come across somebody who's living out here. Okay. Hell, even that city that's all the way north in Paleto Bay, I got a house out there. You can literally spawn out there, and there's barely anybody up there.
I'm just hoping that they give us more options when it comes to housing, certain locations on the map that, really stood out to me that I wish was, available.
I do think that some of the reason why it is that they don't allow you to is because they're just there to make the house that they're actually trying to give you look better, just by proxy. I'm right now. I'm like parked right in front of the Franklin building, but there's like the houses that are also nearby it as well that also look good. So that also makes you want those other houses as well. It's just something that basically makes the house. Hey, you could live here with these other quote unquote NPCs that exist or whatever. You know what I mean? You can because they give you even when you go into the little foreclosure signs about the actual property, they give you a whole description that doesn't really fucking matter. None of that shit that they're talking about matters. All you care about is how much does it cost? How many cars can I fit into the garage? Everything else is extra because there's no game mode mechanic for it. Like I can't do nothing with that. All the game mode mechanics are going to be in on the interior. The extra shit is like I probably picked a certain house because there's a pool in the near, like in literally my quote unquote neighbor's building. There's a pool next to it, so I as the player technically have a pool now that I can easily access, even though it's not my own. So that'd be the only thing that would really matter. Externally.
All right. Okay, the next topic I want to talk about is the heist, because you mentioned that earlier. Now, granted, there's a huge problem with the way how they did heists in GTA 5 when it came to being online. It was a huge problem. Not saying that it was bad, but it's bad when you have a lot of people who just don't seem to want to take it serious. You fall into a point of where there's a lot of human error. Would it be possible for them to have this go like it did in the story modes, where you're actually able to have AIs that, play certain roles? And if granted, they actually had characters in previous Grand Theft Auto installments in the story mode play, in online, deal with this particular task by themselves if they don't really want to deal with anybody, because granted, you're going to run into a lot of randoms that are just so fucking annoying. Instead of going back and forth with people and everything else and just having a task that's just not going to be completed, and you ain't got no friends around to help you with it,
You're gonna need some of your friends. You know I love you, but you're gonna need some of your friends.
allowed AI to come into the mix and make the gameplay a lot easier, or like it did in the single player in GTA 5. Instead of it going like it did when a player went down, the mission completely stops. Would you think that would be a possibility?
I'd say no because of the way that they structure those missions. Obviously, yes, you have the story mode. If they were to let people play those missions by themselves, they would have to rework. Because you have to remember this voice acting that they often put into it. There's the actual animations that they actually put into it as well for things to function the way that they do, and simply just missing the other three characters or simply relying on AI to be competent while at the same time not being overpowered to do their roles while you're not supervising them would be probably a very difficult task from a development standpoint, I would imagine, because I haven't seen that great of AI just in video games period, so I wouldn't expect something like that. Now granted, yes, could they? Sure. I mean, it'd be welcomed, but I'm not expecting it. For people who don't want to deal with randoms, heist might not be in one of the things that you can do. Like you might not have a choice, especially if you don't have people to play the game with. Like you got no choice but to probably do it with randoms just because of that. Or hell, if they can revamp the cutscenes and do some more voice work, if they feel so inclined to, you probably will just have to deal with the same mission just with some awkward bits in it because you can tell that it was originally made for 4 people type of thing. But you'll more likely end up probably doing a mission by yourself, like as a lone human going up against things, and they'll just probably, even if you play on hard, they'll probably just dial down the amount of enemies that you'd have to go up against. It's probably the best, like a survival, like what they do in survival mode. If you have 4 people, then you're facing like 150 enemies or something like that. It's just a random arbitrary number, but it's a very large number. Versus if you're playing solo, you'll more likely fight against like maybe 50. So just to kind of put it in perspective a bit. But it'd be something like that. I would love if I could play the heist modes on solo and just but like you got to think about the different roles that you have to do in those heists in GTA 5. It would be damn near impossible. Like those things would like I would have to pick something and then would just like you'd have to just literally X out. I can't be the prisoner. Somehow or another fight off all those fucking cops and helicopters, maybe get into the plane, might be able to take off without them blowing it up or just simply blocking the plane. Yeah, I mean there's a reason why it is that you have your teammates in those
businesses. The way how they started out, with you owning a business, if they even bother to bring it in, which I'm pretty sure they will, instead of it being a human error coming to the mix, well, they actually allowed us to have AI employees. Same way how you would play with other people, but let's just have AI come to the mix as well. You guys go pick up crates, or you guys go out and do what you gotta do, come back, or you can send guys out to go get the shit and bring it back. Would that even be a function, even though they kind of did it with the CEO crate work?
And I think we might have touched base on that before. Some AI players that can help you run your business and do some of those missions for sure. I don't understand why it is that you own a company or assets like that and you don't have your own militia or army or whatever. You know what I mean? Like simply dependent on people all the time is kind of like, I'm sorry to tell you, but like
a lot of human error to come in the mix too.
Yeah, and part of that human error is not always being available. Like I'm trying to play the game, trying to grind for some money, and someone else is like, well, I mean, I literally got a date with my bitch. Like, what the fuck you want me to do? Type shit. That's fine, but having the ability to obviously yes, you can do the missions by yourself, but they can be very tedious depending on what mission you get and what mission you're doing. Having AI would kind of shorten us out a bit to where higher end AI where they're like, and it's kind of like an RPG thing where you can level them up and have as close as to a player's ability as possible, but without obviously not being a player in terms of their actual like intelligence and like function of being able to complete the mission. In order for it to not just be like, hey, I got an AI player, I'm gonna just let him do the mission, and it just kind of takes the player completely out of the equation. Then I would say you gotta have AI that are not as good. That way you have to kind of play the game yourself too. I feel like because like if you always are just letting the AI do everything, which is yes, that's what bosses do, of course. Don't get me wrong, they have employees to handle jobs that they don't want to do. I get that, but from a gameplay perspective, like I kind of want to play the game myself. So it's like, I mean, I wouldn't mind if I could bring AI with me or I send AI on individual tasks that I myself don't have to monitor. I can go and do something else and have some other guys with me. Obviously, again, that's where the RPG mechanic comes. With the more experience that they have, they understand how you run your shit, what you want them to do. So you can just tell them to go and do something, and you might come across some issues pending on their levels and what you've upgraded on them. And I think I even said in the past that you'd be able to personalize them, choose their name, relation to you, or whatever. It's not just I'm out here. Perfect example of the gun running shipments because it just popped up on the top left of my screen. It's not me just running like doing this mission here for just cash and RP. I'm also doing this to level up my player, like I'm like my team, my militia. And hell, that can even be useful if say someone is like, hey, if I'm going to destroy this government shipment, I'm gonna call up some of my dudes. I'm gonna call up some of my best soldiers, and we go and grief this dude. I'm not necessarily for it, but it's an idea that can be thrown out there. That way, I don't have to depend on another player. I could tell somebody else that, hey, yo, go pull up one of my attack choppers, and then now I have an AI in an attack chopper while I'm on the ground, or I'm in the attack chopper, and then I got soldiers on the ground driving behind the guy. You know what I mean? And then we're attacking them from like 2 different areas type shit. Again, not really for it myself, but I'm saying it's an idea that can be thrown out there.
My question to you is this. How do you think the starting of GTA Online is going to start? In the beginning, I don't think there was a story behind it or any tutorial on, how to do this and do that. You were pretty much just thrown in, and they just said, well, here you go. Have fun. That was in the PS3 version. In the PS4 version, they had a tutorial with the cutscene Lamar came into the mix and got you through, introduced you to Gerald, and the PS5 variation of it. I guess something happened to you. You got locked up. You're leaving the Los Santos precinct. So, would you think that they will allow you to have like some kind of story, or will they just throw you into the fray like they did the PS3?
I think for simplicity purposes, I think they'll just throw you in. And if they decide to develop a story, they'll probably do it later on. Implementation of one of the story characters, like what they did with Lamar, again, but except whatever character is relevant in GTA 6 that they feel like they can do the same thing with. I wouldn't even be surprised because of modern gaming and how everything is greed focused that they might even just do less and again just throw you in there. You just probably get off the plane and just land somewhere, and then you just spawn in, and then you get all these pop-ups on your screen, and they may tell you to go here or go there. I don't see it being a big extravagant thing because the stories didn't come until like way later, anyways. They have to kind of find their own direction on what they want to do with that, and it's just not gonna happen right away. Like a few months in, shit, they might even just focus more so on the storyline at first and just add more DLC for that. Granted, probably not because of the whole greed thing I mentioned earlier. So, because they can benefit and profit more off of online transactions, like for via GTA Online versus profiting off of offline. At least in my opinion, anyways. Because you have a lot more people who are more than willing going to want to play in a PvP setting or in an open world setting with their own created characters versus using set characters where there's no other players involved. It's just, and everything is just their sandbox to do whatever it is that they want in it with no outside influences. The ability to co-op this and play with your friends is one of the biggest attractions about sandboxes nowadays anyways. If they do a story for it, it's not going to be that extravagant. It's not going to be that like extra for people to kind of experience like right out the gates. It's going to be like the heist, the Lamar missions, the random DLC updates with random characters and they might even throw in some past characters. Who knows? If Franklin, Trevor, and Michael aren't in GTA 6 story, they might pop up in one of those missions, later on down the road for whatever random reason. Same thing with like Lester or somebody else, and it could just be fan service for people who like those characters, where they pop up for those set missions. That's what I kind of felt about like Lamar was in the beginning, before his actual like Lamar missions. I felt like he was just there for just fan service. So you get the Martin Madrazo. Yes, he was a story character, but side character antagonist guy, not really all that important. Like no one's getting on GTA to talk to Martin Madrazo. Okay, I want the mission so I can earn my goddamn money. I'm not here for you. I'm here for your mission. So I guess by proxy, I'm here for you, I guess. You really just have to kind of see how the story of GTA 6 unfolds first and how well the gameplay works in order to fully get what are they going to do a story for it. And plus, how long does it take for them to even start the GTA Online thing? What if the game if it comes out just a story mode for a while and then GTA Online comes out way later? If GTA Online comes out way later, then we might get a story-specific thing with Heist maybe right out the gate, or things of that nature. We might get more of a story-focused GTA Online. But they don't want to do the 2K thing, where they make it so story-focused that they're taking away from just the open sandbox mode of people are just, I don't want to do a mission right now. Or, God forbid, they do a thing where you have to go and do this online mission before you can do other activities type things. I would hate that. That would suck because it's very restrictive of the players. Like, dog, I want to just go and do this. Now, I understand that from a leveling perspective because of difficulty amplifiers. I think they'll be fine. But I think if they delay the GTA Online for like probably like a couple months afterwards, and they're already in the works with Heist and stuff, depending on how successful the GTA 6 campaign is, I think we could get stories with that, like earlier on.
That's the very last question. With GTA 6 coming into place, I don't know if they even touched up on having returning characters from like previous installment, like Vice City with Tony Versetti. What if we had characters like him come into the mix? Now, I'm not saying they're going to be in the regular story mode of GTA 6, but what they would come in, as a Easter egg or something extra for online, like they had returning characters, like maybe even have CJ pop into the mix, because personally, I would have felt it would have been kind of cool to have CJ, make him a cameo in GTA 5 or maybe an online. What if they actually, brought back previous protagonists, like having Claude, Tony, CJ, Lance, was his brother in Vice City? What if they made a cameo or they had some kind of role in online in Vice City? Would that make the game a lot more playable or a lot more enjoyable, or would it just get to a point where, like, okay, paying homage to, older protagonists?
Firstly, what I'll say to that is, unfortunately, some of those cameos wouldn't even be possible. Starting with CJ, there was an article about, I think the original voice actor said that CJ will more than likely not be in that game, like, period, because of conflicts between him and and Rockstar. So it's unlikely that that'll happen. Lance, Vice City Stories, he died, if memory serves me right, in that game.
Oh, wow.
So doubt he'll come back. Maybe for a Halloween update if they're feeling froggy or whatever, but that's not going to be likely. Other than that, I guess the elements are possible unless I'm missing another name that you had said. Granted, different characters are going to spark different levels of fan service enjoyment, but that's really what it just comes down to. They're just it'll just be fan service, like, oh, cool, I remember that character from that game. It's kind of like what they did with Gay Tony when they brought him back for the nightclub DLC. Like, it's just one of those things, like, those who enjoy that character, well, he's back. It's cool to have another character, but depending how they do it, because they've even had updates with DLCs where they kind of feel soulless to some degree. Like, the best DLC I'd say that they had so far, and this could just me just undervaluing the other ones, was the one with Franklin and Lamar when they in GTA 5, where they put them together for their set missions, where you basically smoked weed and then you became Franklin and then your partner became Lamar. That was probably the best set of missions that they had. It's 100% for fan service, but it's not really like, what point does it serve other than just fan service? You know what I mean? Now, granted, it doesn't need to. In some aspects, no. Just simply having the character there and seeing that they're doing well and everything else, it's just nice. It's just nice. But in certain situations where they're making you do missions on it, you might start to argue, what is the point? So,
just somebody, like, just for assistance, one of those characters that if you don't have anybody to play with or you're having a tough time, you don't have nobody with you, they can always come into the mix, or it could be like some kind of hangout session like they did in GTA 5.
For them to do that, I think they would have to give your character a voice. And that's the other thing, and that was Clyde too. I don't know how they would really implement him in, other than him just kind of being there. Like how he was in San Andreas, he was kind of just there. Like, they would have to give your character a voice, because they have to give him a reason for being there. A voiceless protagonist, it'd be kind of hard to get them into the game and then have them do something productive. You're going into a heist, and you're working for this guy, and he hired you and some other random thugs that he didn't disclose to you yet until you get there, and then you meet them, and then it's boom, here's the fan service. There's Clyde. You know what I mean? Not saying shit, just there. And then he saves you or something. Or maybe they...
awkward, dude.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so now, like, imagine...
I see that now, yeah.
And, like, imagine your character doesn't speak, he don't speak, and then, like, y'all the ones who got to work together. Like, that's just pure, like, intuition. Like, y'all got to be... That's on a whole nother level of chemistry. We talking here. Like, y'all get the job done? Shit. I mean, damn, I could tell y'all shit. I don't even know if y'all pissed at me or not. Dang, y'all facial expression doesn't even change. Shrug your shoulders, turn around and leave the door. I'm like, I don't even know if they understood what the fuck I said. Do they even speak my language?
Like the Lamar missions when they just... He's talking to Gerald, like, I got enough of this whole tough guy silent act from these two guys.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So,
I see what you said now.
It just, I don't know, it would just add some awkwardness, which maybe has its own charm, and that would just probably be part of the fan service. Like, oh, look, silent protagonist. Hey, look, here's this other silent protagonist from way back in the day. It's like, look at how they are very cohesive without saying shit to each other. Kind of like how the players are. You know what I mean? Because the player characters don't say shit. One, they don't even look like a unit. They look like a bunch of random people thrown together, and we're just working together. I guess these are your friends type shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, all right, y'all here? Cool. I'm like, huh, weird. I recognize you because you're the one I talked to on the phone, but who are these other three dudes? These other three people aren't the same three people from the last mission that we just did. How many
Right.
people are in on this heist? Like, should I be concerned about that? No. Okay, fuck it. We'll just go along. We'll go along with it.
If they do bring in the heist, I would like for Michael to make a cameo because he has yet to have a part in online. I think he's the only character out of Franklin and Trevor that did not play a particular role. Well, I would like for him to introduce Heist into the next installment. Trevor played a role, with regular missions. Franklin came in as a DLC. It would be nice to see Michael come in and have a particular role of introducing something from the previous installment.
See, my thing with Michael has always been I thought that he was trying to get out of the game. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a Franklin thing where Franklin, to some degree, I thought he was trying to get out of it too. But then it's like, okay, well, because he has to say,
Shit, I'm a hustler that made it big. Big house, nice cars, a family, and everything. But damn, man, I miss getting these fucking hands dirty.
his DLC that popped up. With Michael, I'm assuming because of his own family ties, he's trying to just settle down, just relax, and understand why the fuck that he still exists on the planet. You know what I mean? Just retire. If they were going to implement him in, well, before I get to that, there is a chance that they may have another character in mind to kind of play that role. So Michael may not be the guy for that. If they were going to do anything with Michael, probably more so have a younger version of Michael, maybe in like a flashback type of setting where they like take some drug or whatever, and then you kind of maybe can relive some of those heists that he's so known for, and might even could include Trevor in it and Brad. You know what I'm saying? And whoever else was along the way. Hell, that could probably be its own string of missions within itself. You know what I mean? That you could play as. And again, it's like it could be via drug, via whatever. You know what I mean? Hell, it could be a thing of where like Michael could be reminiscing, where you just happen to meet Michael and you're sitting on his couch for whatever reason, or sitting somewhere, and he's talking to you and just kind of thinking about the past or whatever. Basically, boom, self insertion. Your character, whether it be a solo thing, probably no more than probably like a co op thing. So it's probably like 1 or 2 players, pending how like major they want to make the missions, because they never really elaborated on what type of heist. He's just a very well known criminal, and we don't really know what all did he do. So then now you can put that now into a gameplay aspect. But it also might just be taking too much away from what they could do with GTA 6 and that GTA 6 storyline as well. Like GTA 5 has fantastic characters, fantastic dialogue and everything, but you also don't want to put too much of the focus on GTA 5 into GTA 6. You kind of also want to work off of the characters that you build it, because otherwise then you just waste the resources building up these characters, making the players care about them and everything else. These would be good for fan service, yes, but you also have to build upon what you already have as far as your story.